ask you a question? It's slightly off topic, but it's on the topic. Do you feel that, obviously you do workshops, you teach black history and all sorts of things to children, but I believe that there's actually a lack of knowledge amongst the adults that have the children, and I think that's one of the problems that we have.
Totally.
So I think that until we have an education process within the community, I think we're going to be always suffering from this deficit of engagement.
100%, because you see...
A lot of 100%s from me today.
I'm in love right now. I'm in love right now with what I'm hearing, because you see, what you're saying, I can't argue. You know, it's the point, because when I do work with schools, and I say to the schools that, you know, we could do great workshops with the children, but once they leave that school, it's all undone if the parents are not on board, you see? And so with many of the schools I work with, they allow me to work with the parents as well. And politically, it's the same situation. You know, it's about giving the young people a vision, but also we need a second arm that can work with the parents, because it's the parents that really the children are going to look for in terms of following their examples. Many of our communities support Labour, not because they know about Labour, their parents supported Labour. Exactly. And so by educating the masses, i.e. the parents, the adults, you're going to have a knock-on effect with the children.
And what difference does it make? I understand, obviously, about learning about our roots is part of empowerment. You feel empowered through that. But how does that really translate into the impact that the black community can make on the political process?
Well, I personally come from the standpoint that democracy and ignorance are not companions. Yeah, we talk about living in a democracy in our society. But if the people that are underneath that democracy are illiterate or ignorant, then the government is not going to be called to answer to. And so by educating those youth, and or especially in our community, if we educate them into who they are, their potential, what they can achieve, believe it or not, that'll translate into a political paradigm as well. Okay, it's about knowledge of self. And once you know who you are, not just historically, but know yourself in terms of your capabilities, then you will know, is this a government that's looking after my potential and my capabilities?
As you just said that, sorry to keep, I thought about people like Marcus Garvey, people like Malcolm X, who have kind of done that and obviously been shot down for it. Do you think if we were to have another movement where a kind of empowerment movement, we had the Black Panther kind of movement, and every time there is a movement to educate, mass educate the people, there's a kind of counterculture that comes along to suppress it, whether it's been the Ku Klux Klan, whether it's been civil rights. So
it's going to happen, sis. But one thing I learned from history is that we don't learn from history.
Right.
Meaning that if we studied those past movements and the greats that they've done, we've got to look at the mistakes and the errors that we may have to look for in terms of our particular present-day building. And so we cannot afford to build any movement that's based on the charismatic personality of one person. That's what I'm talking about, educating masses. We can do workshops locally all over the place, okay? So there we can't get away. There may be a leader personality, but our belief, our structure, and our mission must not be based on a personality, just because he's a magnetic personality. We've got to build information and education that gives right across the board.
You're talking about structures, and how do we build those structures? What, from the grassroots up?
From the grassroots. It's got to be from the grassroots.
But how do we, but there's a very practical problem here, which is that we're all working 9 to 5, or we're struggling to make ends meet. It's very, very hard to do that, because people are saying, I've got other priorities. How do you how do you get around that?
But until we understand that there's got to be a sacrifice that's got to be made, okay, and that sacrifice can sometimes only be a few hours a week. It can make a massive change. And we're entering into an era right now, brother, whereby we're becoming very materialistic. It's all about what can I get out of it right now. And that short-term thinking is what centers a lot of our community to political and economical death. And we need a new, and I personally start with the younger generation. If we can really get them to appreciate and understand, make a sacrifice for your community, and guess what? In a few years' time, you're going to benefit directly from that sacrifice.